Hi, I'm Jim Sowell. I'm an astronomer here at Georgia Tech, and we're standing on the roof of the Howey Physics Building. It's about 7 stories tall, and on the roof we have a 20-inch telescope. The aperture is 20 inches in diameter, and we use that primarily for public outreach events. The reason I got very interested in astronomy is due to my mother and due to being born at the time of the space age beginning. My mother was an elementary school teacher, 3rd grade, and when I was about in 2nd grade, the space program was going on and Lost in Space came on, and my mother found out that I liked it. So she started bringing the astronomy books from the school library. And the combination of watching a lot of television and reading, I just became very interested. And I kept the interest going while I was in high school. When I applied to colleges, I made certain there was an astronomy program there, although I started out as an engineer, but I realized astronomy is what I really wanted to do. There has become a renewed interest in astronomy during the last 5 years or so. Due to Hollywood, I would say the programs, movies like The Martian, Interstellar, Star Wars, getting another generation of kids, that has helped significantly. The efforts of the independent space program companies, letting people begin to realize that it can be done by individuals instead of just governments, that has really helped. And NASA itself, though, we're now sending space probes to Mars almost every other year. And we've got a lot of traffic going. And now with today's technology, to be able to build spacecraft quickly and to launch it, and of course everybody's loving the rovers wandering around on Mars. And we just got pictures from Pluto, which, you know, Pluto was not even known for some of the people in today's audience. It was only discovered in 1930. We want to keep the observatory as active as possible. I teach 3 astronomy courses during the year, and I require those students to come and at least look through the telescope once. A nice, well-mounted telescope, like the one we have at Georgia Tech, helps with the stability and the ease of seeing objects. We know where to point the telescope. Access to seeing astronomy, it's both very easy and at the same time it's very difficult. It's very easy with the technology. I have many people who will come show me their app on their cell phone identifying a constellation. So in that respect it's becoming very easy. It's becoming very difficult because of the sky brightness. Many of us grew up where in our backyards we could easily see the Milky Way. And today it is very difficult for most people to see a dark sky. Certainly here in downtown Atlanta, even with our big telescope, we're only looking at the moon and a few of the brightest objects. If you really want to do dark astronomy, you've got to work at finding a location and taking a trip there. The best part about my job is not teaching the college students, but it's having people look through the telescope and hearing the gasps as they see craters on the moon. That's really the best form of payment for opening up to their mind what's possible out there. And so I was always wondering, how can I get more people to look through a telescope? And one of the first steps I took was through an outreach program here at Georgia Tech. We put a video camera on our telescope, and we were broadcasting images to a girls' school in Australia, but the crew helping me had to come at 11 p.m. because of the time zone difference. And then later at 4 a.m. another day, we were broadcasting to Great Britain, to the schools. And it was amazing hearing the squeals again of the kids seeing the rings of Saturn come up on their television screens. And then it dawned on me that I'm doing it backwards. I'm being the dark site, and what I need is a telescope and a dark site so that the people here in Atlanta or Georgia Tech could then see these same kind of sites. So I began a quest of where can we put a small telescope, which is just like a webcam. We're going to put a long wire on it, but I want it connected to a computer, and that way anybody could see the image that they would like. Well, only having one webcam, though, meant I was going to have to schedule it. But the idea is for a classroom school teacher to go to a calendar and say, okay, 10:30, this telescope is available, and we'll just attach to it, and I'll show my students the view. The beauty of this project is it doesn't matter where the teacher or the school is. It can be an affluent suburban school. It can be a poor inner school. And we're planning on going international. I mean, we could have a school in Kenya with dirt floors. As long as they have an internet connection and a computer screen, they can do this project. When we were searching for a location, we considered places like Australia, China, Turkey, but we realized if we kept it in our own country, that would make life a little bit easier. And when I was talking to my chairman about the search, he just asked me point blank. He said, well, where would be the best place? I was like, well, Hawaii, of course. And he said, well, make it so. We're here at the Aloha Telescope. We're at the Air Force site. We're about half a mile from the Pacific Ocean. Our elevation is about 100 feet. We don't need the dark skies, we just need the clear skies, and we're on the side of the mountain that does not get the rain. There's very little rain on this side near Kihei. This is the telescope. We describe telescopes by their diameter of the mirror or the lens, and this one is an 11-inch. It was made by the Celestron Telescope Company. On the back of it, we have a focuser. That's what's in gold, so that we can remotely focus from our computer the image if it's slightly out of focus. And then this is the video camera. This is what is sending a signal to the website. This is the viewing of the image, primarily going to be the moon. I have added, while I've been here this summer, the little spotting telescope, because one of my projects has been the telescope just isn't quite pointing as well as it should, and it's just a maintenance issue. Later today, I'm going to be adding another telescope to ride on this one to give us a bigger field of view that we can see from Atlanta. It will have its own separate video camera. And it has a much larger field of view, so if again the pointing is off, we'll be able to use it to help zero in, and then we should be able to get things centered from that point forward. So besides the telescope, we've learned over time that we need some other devices out here. I've recently installed a Davis weather instrument device to let us know about the amount of rain and the temperature and the humidity. And their device is designed to not only have the outside, but an inside set of sensors. We also have an all-sky camera for looking at the clouds. But further in the dome itself, we have an AC unit in case it does get too hot. We have additional cameras to give us a view of seeing the telescope, so we can tell that the camera light is not on or that there is a filter left on the front of the telescope by accident. So we're trying to give ourselves as many senses, as many eyes as possible to understand what is going on here at the site.
So this is Air Force Research Laboratory Detachment 15 here on Maui. We're responsible for the Maui Space Surveillance Complex on the summit. So if you go up there and see the telescopes on the summit, we run all of those. Here we're at the administrative offices in Kihei, where we do all the day-to-day business of running a very complex organization. So we do logistics and maintenance, planning for future programs, all the work that has to be done to actually execute the science mission up top. We do that as much as possible from sea level.
Georgia Tech came in a few years ago to develop the Aloha telescope here on Maui. The idea was to set up a telescope in Maui that could be used by students on the East Coast when it's still dark here and in the beginning of the day or middle of the day there.
The project with Georgia Tech is an educational partnership agreement that allows us to use Air Force facilities and to some extent Air Force personnel to support the outreach project that is largely executed by Georgia Tech. So we provide the real estate here on Hawaii to have pristine viewing conditions of the night sky. We provide a commercial telescope and a existing Air Force dome environmental enclosure to make that available to the students over in Georgia.
Pretty much every organization that exists in this tech park is hungry for new scientific talent, right? Engineering talent. And that's one of the reasons that we are so heavily involved in outreach, is to try and foster that, develop that. And so the Aloha telescope, to some extent, will try to get them interested. We also have programs that work with students to develop publications, develop presentations at conferences. And so it's not only to try and foster their interest, but to help their discovery from a contribution to the field sort of aspect.
The Air Force has always been interested in fostering, and the DoD writ large has always been interested in fostering interest in science, technology, engineering, and math amongst young Americans. This pays dividends, obviously, not only for them, but for national security. The work that we do here on Maui has been pretty strong, even for the last decade.
I'm finally at this beautiful setting after 5 years. We had a grand opening ceremony 5 years ago, and we're still not quite open. So I think we're getting close now with the aspects that I'm finalizing here. We've come to realize this is a fantastic project because it's a quarter of the way around the world. And yet, that's the difficulty. It's a quarter of the way around the world. And so sometimes, if you don't have the right video camera in the right place, or you just know something is not on, but to figure out why it is not on can delay you for some time.
The biggest challenge was just getting the data connectivity from our Air Force network essentially back to Georgia Tech and allowing them to do that remote control of the telescope. So it's more a network design challenge rather than any sort of fundamental science challenge.
We've also have learned that it's not the same as having a computer and a telescope and a cable connecting the two, which was my original mindset. We just had to make the cable 5,000 miles long. Not only are there telecommunication issues, there are other things we didn't even realize, such as there are no weather facilities right here. I mean, the weather facilities that are around are excellent, but we had Georgia Tech weather expert check on it. And he's going, you can't use anything other than right where you're at because it changes as a function of just a few miles. So we actually have spent a couple of years trying to get and determine how can we best see the weather, because we can't open the dome if it's raining. And we don't want to find out that it's raining by having opened the dome. So we have just recently set up a weather system, and we've got a camera for looking up at the sky for clouds. It's issues like that that we just didn't think of that have caused a major time delay. The beauty of observing the moon is it's larger than our field of view. And so you could take 30 minutes exploring. most other objects you would see with a telescope is smaller than our field of view. We send this image to a website, and so you're seeing a live view of the moon. We have it set up so that a teacher can reserve a half-hour time slot, and using all the wonderful telecommunications and firewalls, let's say she has it at 9 a.m. 9 a.m., we have it set so that only her computer is the one that can control the telescope. And so she and the students in the classroom can move around the surface of the moon, going wherever they want. And what I want to do is hear the squeals as the kids go, well, what's just right up here? And they can move the telescope and see it for themselves, the joy of discovery. So I'm not going after research with this. I'm really going after second graders, fourth, sixth graders when they actually learn some astronomy. It's rare that they get to take astronomy in high school. And I'm not trying to make more astronomers. I'm just trying to make people have that sense of awe and wonder, and to be observers and to have questions. I mean, if you're going to be a scientist, you just need to be observant. It's getting colder, the leaves are falling off the tree, the grass is turning brown, the animal grew bigger if you fed them this, the fish died because you didn't do this. And then you can apply that to engineering, almost in any field. I mean, you want to learn from that. And astronomy can't really be taught in a classroom because it's nighttime. And so I'm trying to bring a little bit of real-time active astronomy into the classroom and just get students and teachers and parents excited, because anyone can look at the website and see it, but only one classroom at a time will have control of the telescope.
As far as the types of things they'll be looking at in a classroom experience, live viewing, I haven't heard of very many projects like this before. It is pretty unique for the state of Hawaii, to my knowledge.
So we're going to continue to support the telescope here on site. It's relatively easy for us to do that. Georgia Tech's done a lot of the hard work, and we just sort of provide the backbone here. The work that we're doing with Georgia Tech will continue partnering with the faculty there, probably understand some of the successes and failures of the program in reaching students, and then tailor it in the future. We hope it's a long-term project and possibly a pathfinder for other projects that are like it.
When we got the partnership going with the Air Force here at Maui, we quickly realized we got to come up with a name, because at Georgia Tech we were referring to it as Telescope on Maui, which is like, how many telescopes are on Maui? You know, probably 30 or so. And the guys here were referring to it as the Peachtree Project, and we're going, yeah, we're on Peachtree Street, but you know, that doesn't mean anything. It's in Hawaii. And so we just started with names like the Explorer, and we couldn't use Hawaiian Eye, but finally we just said, well, how about Aloha? Because everybody knows what that means. It would express both outreach from the point of view here, and it would also help people readily recognize where the telescope is located. I've been working at this project for at least 6 years. It might be 7 from the initial thought. And I was usually always 6 months from now, we should be there. I think I will get us to within 90% of starting in the fall because of this summer time. I basically got a summer faculty member appointment out here. And so I'm able to spend a great deal of time replacing equipment, getting things fine-tuned, and it's even taking longer than I anticipated physically being here. That's the one reason I hesitate saying 100%, is because I'm worried that at the end of my 8 weeks, I won't quite have gotten to everything that I really wanted to do, so that I'm leaving saying it's 100%. This project got started several years ago because I was trying to figure out how can I get more people to see something through a telescope. It's kind of hard standing in long lines and you got to come at night. You don't get to do it during your class time. When you begin to look at the craters on the moon, unlike a lot of other worlds, Moon has lots of craters. You see how there's craters on top of craters on top of craters? These are some of the few mountains on the moon. Like here's a little bit of a mountain. These here, these are pretty much the edge. Let's move to another area. Somebody else want to move the telescope? I'll tell you what, why don't you just move wherever you want to. Go find some place you'd like to visit and we'll talk about it. Next year will be the 50th anniversary of us going to the moon. Okay, but the last time somebody went to the moon, so that next year will be 50 years. Last time somebody went to the moon was 47 years ago.
The live telescope in Hawaii, we manipulated it to look at the moon, to open the dome, and it's just really fascinating to see the live moon from a telescope thousands of miles away. I really did not know that some craters had mountains in them, and that the moon is just has so much texture, is so amazing, and is so Earth-like. I really did not think that this was going to happen to me. I thought this was just going to happen to someone else. Why have we not gone to the moon in the past 30, 40 years? I don't know. We should do it again.
Oh, the kids are very excited to see this presentation. They have been asking about it for weeks, and the astronomy unit is always their favorite unit, so to get a little taste of it earlier than we're supposed to in the semester was just so exciting for them. The use of technology really does enhance their education because for so long they were just used to textbooks and pictures, and now it's much more hands-on and interactive, and they can definitely go more in-depth than they ever could before.
We're really excited to be able to participate in this innovative project. For the first time, students were able to actually navigate that telescope and see different features of the moon. The Aloha telescope really gives teachers an opportunity to implement this type of technology that's able to bring the classroom alive, and for them to actually be able to see and learn more about specific things on the moon, to be able to look at those features, have this real-world application that they wouldn't get out of a textbook. It's really going in a different direction. That's exciting.
I would like to, make certain that we are sustainable. Even though it's my baby, I want to make certain it survives past me. I would love to make a second telescope, and since Maui is a quarter of the way around the world to the west, put one a quarter of the way toward the east, such as maybe South Africa. And then we would have telescopes that are halfway around the world, and we could give complete coverage so that afternoon classes, that's the one comment I've gotten from teachers, is my 9 o'clock class is going to get to see it, but my 1 o'clock class isn't. But then also in California, they could now be observing and getting the use of it. So I would love to actually maybe have a network of a few telescopes scattered around the world, and there's no reason it would just be for US usage. I mean, as long as you have an internet connection and a monitor of some sort, you can do this. So whether you're a very poor rural school, an affluent suburban private school, or a downtown urban school, they can all be used. And you can use it in Africa, Europe, South America, the US, the way we're set up right now. So it would be wonderful to expand to the entire world.
So these all have two. This one looks like it has more, but it's just two that are longer.
Well, do you think this is spiral? From what it looks like, it's classified.
I think astronomy is important because we can learn more about physics and other planets and our own planet and other things in space. And I think we can understand math and science much more from studying other planets and other solar systems and things like that. And we could possibly even find a habitable planet in our solar system.
I think astronomy is important because it helps us expand our knowledge about the universe and our galaxy and if there might be intelligent life out there. There's a high probability that there is, just because of how big the universe is.
Astronomy is just like any other science. If you are interested in it personally, it gives you the foundation and the discipline for understanding the scientific method, for choosing to conduct basic and applied research in the future.
In our lifetimes, it's going to be infeasible to visit the next stellar system, more than likely. But we try to understand as much as we can for the next generations, right? Scientifically and technologically. And so I think the value there is not so much an impact to the current generation, but just trying to develop our exploration of science as long as possible.
I love being an astronomer. I teach good students at a good university. I do outreach. I do some research and publications. I go to a few conferences. But the best joy is hearing people squeal when they're seeing the moon through the telescope. I'm wanting to give this gift to families, parents, and adults and children.